We're constantly told to hustle, right? To grind, to optimize every single second. But what if the secret to actually getting more done and, feeling human again isn't about pushing harder? What if the real fix is a 3,000-year-old law our super modern world has just completely forgotten about? Let's dig into that.
Okay, so let's start with a feeling I bet you've had. Ever felt that phantom buzz? You know the one. You reach for your phone, absolutely sure you felt it vibrate, only to find nothing? Yeah, that's not just some weird quirk. It's a neurological twitch, a little alarm bell telling us our brains have been rewired to be in a state of constant, anxious waiting for the next ping, the next notification.
And that feeling, it's really just a symptom of something way bigger, a kind of cultural motto that we all live by, even if we don't say it out loud. I am busy, therefore I am. It's like we've created this really dangerous equation where our worth is directly tied to how packed our calendar is.
And all of this has led to what you could honestly call an always-on epidemic. It feels like our culture hasn't just forgotten how to rest, it's almost like we've declared war on it. Any moment that isn't filled with doing something is seen as a total waste of time.
So what's the end result of all this? Burnout. And let's be super clear here. This is not just feeling a bit tired. The World Health Organization now officially recognizes it. We're talking about a state of deep, chronic, physical, and emotional exhaustion. It's the feeling of your mental tank being completely, utterly empty.
To really bring this home, the source material tells the story. It's a composite, but so real, of a tech worker named Mia. And this line just says it all. She totally bought into the hustle culture, and it drove her to a complete physical and mental collapse. Her story is the human price we pay for this war on rest.
So the big question is, why does this happen to us? Well, to get to the bottom of it, we've got to look inside our own heads. It turns out there's a hidden battle going on for our attention, 24/7.
Believe it or not, this story kind of starts back in the 1990s with a neuroscientist named Marcus Reichel. He was doing brain scans and kept seeing this weird anomaly. Whenever he told people in the scanner to just rest, a whole specific network in their brain would light up like a Christmas tree. He had this aha moment. Rest isn't the brain shutting off. It's the brain switching to a totally different kind of work.
So what Rachel and others discovered is that our brains have basically two main operating systems, and they work like a seesaw. When one is up, the other is down. First, you've got the task positive network, or TPN. Think of this as your get stuff done mode. It's all about focus, problem solving, dealing with the outside world. But then, there's the default mode network, or DMN, and look at what it does. Consolidates memories, makes meaning out of your experiences, handles self-reflection and empathy. This is not some idle background process. It is literally the architect of who you are.
Okay, so here is the absolute crux of the problem. Our modern, always-on world, with the constant pings, the emails, the notifications, it keeps our task-positive network switched on all the time. And because of that seesaw effect, we are literally, neurologically, starving our default mode network. We're not giving it the time it needs to do its incredibly important job.
Now this is where things get really interesting. We've got this super modern neurological problem, right? But what if the solution, the actual operator's manual for our brains, has been hiding in plain sight this whole time, in a text that's over 3,000 years old?
Yeah, I'm talking about the Fourth Commandment. Now, whatever your personal beliefs are, just listen to the words for a second. It's a simple, clear instruction for a rhythm. 6 days of work, and then a 7th day that is a protected, dedicated period of non-work. A total stop.
And the whole idea here is that maybe we've been looking at this all wrong. We see it as some restrictive religious rule. But what if it's not? What if it's actually describing a profound biological necessity for our brains to actually work the way they're supposed to? So let's connect those dots. The Sabbath, it's basically a 3,000-year-old prescription to protect the default mode network. It's a command to intentionally shut down that go-go-go task-positive network so that the DMN can finally get the space it needs to do its job, to make sense of our lives, to consolidate who we are. And think about what happens when we ignore this ancient wisdom. The consequences of starving the DMN, well, they look exactly like the symptoms of modern burnout. Your memory gets worse, your creativity just vanishes, you literally lose the ability to imagine a better future for yourself. Your sense of who you are starts to fragment, and your empathy for other people, it just tanks.
Okay, so what do we do about this? It's pretty clear, right? The answer is to start thinking about rest in a whole new way. Not as a weakness or a luxury, but as a powerful, radical, and necessary act of resistance in a world that wants you to never stop.
And the way to do that really comes down to three things. First, you have to set real boundaries. That means intentionally unplugging from work and your devices. Second, you have to engage in what the source calls true rest. Things that let your mind just wander, like taking a walk without a podcast or having a long, unhurried conversation. And finally, you have to build a sanctuary in time for that rest. You have to protect it, make it sacred, make it non-negotiable.
And this is a really, really important distinction to make. Just vegging out and binge-watching a show or scrolling through social media, that's not actually rest for your brain. It just keeps that task-positive network busy with low-level stuff. True restorative rest is about actively engaging with your internal world, your thoughts, your memories, your daydreams, without having a goal in mind.
The stakes here are bigger than just our individual well-being. The source material zooms out with this really stark warning. A culture that never stops eventually just grinds to a halt. A society that's built on this myth of constant productivity is, ironically, setting itself up for a massive collective breakdown in creativity, innovation, and basic human connection.
And all of this leaves us with one final, pretty powerful thought. This principle, this idea of a rhythmic, protected time for rest. It's survived for thousands of years across all kinds of different cultures. And now, modern neuroscience is showing us exactly why it's so important. So the real question for us today isn't whether this ancient law is outdated. The question is, can we really afford to keep ignoring the operating instructions for our own mind?